No, mine is a very, very silly thing because it is. I tend to listen to it when I'm building Gunpla because
That's
I'm
so
a huge
cute.
dork.
Oh my gosh,
adorable.
that is adorable.
I'm not gonna say it's adorable.
Yeah, well, 2 out of 3
Damn
podcast
it.
hosts would agree. John.
Damn it! Democracy!
Beautiful and cute. There you go.
きっと約束だよいつかまた同じ笑顔で
Welcome everybody to Any Chat Box episode 14. I'm one of your hosts, Ciros Canoel, aka Craig, aka Craigus von Maximus III, twice removed. Along with me is the ragtag team of experts in the anime industry. We have the producer slash seducer slash she does only everything, Cass.
I feel it's like false advertising to say that we're experts in the anime world.
No, we are. You gotta have the confidence. We also have the precious cinnamon roll, Cami.
Oh, hello.
And we also have the always British, the always gentlemanly Joestar.
Greetings.
Alrighty. With that being said, and I hate that phrase, you can find us on socials. We have different podcast services around the world, as well as an email. Let me read off those to you now. Twitter.com/AnyChatbox. Twitter.com/TheAnyChatbox. Let me emphasize the in that for you. As well as anychatmail@gmail.com. Feel free to hit us up with any sort of anime you want us to watch, any topic, what have you. We definitely appreciate it. You can also find us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, as well as we are in the process of getting a little thing rolled out called our Patreon. Cass, you've been finagling with this. What are our details? What do we got for that?
I'll go ahead and put a link in the description so that everybody here can get a link to it if they'd like. By the time that this episode is released, the Patreon should have already been out for a week or so and should have already been posted on Twitter. So you can find it there. I'll have it pinned to the Twitter henceforth. And you can go there and donate to us $1 or $5 or nothing at all. If you want to just drop by and give us some feedback on the page, you can do that as well. Any little bit helps, whether it be money or just advice.
Or they could donate $1 million.
There is even a special support tier where you can get Cami to sing for you. I'm just saying.
That is true. She's not lying. She held a gun up against my head and forced me to. I'm just
See, I was about to say, you say that, but you don't sound like you're worried about it. You seem more just like, oh, she did it, but it's okay. It's for the greater good.
Basically, yes. I love Cassie, and I can't say no to her.
That and she's a beautiful singer, and she needs to realize it.
Thank you. Desu des. Arigatou gozaimasu.
That's the most sarcastic thank you I have ever heard.
Jesus.
Thank you, dearest Cassie.
Producer.
I also wanted to mention, Craig said he hates, but that being said, and honestly, looking back on all of our episodes, Annie Chatbox drinking game for any listeners out there. Listen to one of our episodes. Take a shot for every time someone says, and with that being said. Because
yeah, it's not even just Craig. It's literally all of us.
All of us.
We're going to kill what few viewers we have.
Yep. That being said, or I was about to say, or the two phraseologies that I use most often, and after listening to this and the other podcasts that I'm a part of, I don't like it, and I gotta cut that shit out, because I can't be relying on the same vernacular constantly. But, rolling back a little bit. Yeah, I was about to say, rolling back a little bit, you mentioned Cami does song covers as a Patreon tier. I wanted to bring that up as a main topic of discussion for this evening here. Music. So basically, let's break it down here. This topic was drawn up by Cass here.
Actually, it was John's idea.
Oh, okay. I apologize. Credit where credit is due. All right. Music is always a key part of any series for either setting the mood, getting you hype, or tugging at the heartstrings. But sometimes songs from anime can carry over meaning into our lives away from the series that they came from. Does anyone here have any stories of a song or of an anime connecting with them, or on a deeper level at that time when they may have needed it? Has a song from an anime comforted you in a time of sorrow? Or maybe there's just a soundtrack you use to pump yourself up during a workout session.
Or it just gives you sorrow every time you hear it.
Or sorrow when you're working out, which is...
Well, sorrow and working out just kind of go together. So,
Yeah,
or at least
that's
for
how
me.
That's how you start, but then you play Live to Win, and then you get pumping.
Kids with the pumped up kicks, you better run better.
Okay, so a question here. Who's the most musically inclined to start this conversation off?
Cami.
Okay.
There we go.
And then I say John, because he came up with this topic.
Yes.
I answered your question personally, Craig, because I think she is the most musically inclined here.
Right.
But I think John should also be thrown under the
Yes.
bus because it was his
Okay.
idea.
Gotcha.
So honestly, the first thing I thought about as far as an anime song that struck a chord with me is, for anyone who's seen Angel Beats, there's a song called Ichiban no Takaramono, or My Most Precious Treasure, and they always
Classic.
play it during the heart-wrenching moments. It's a very beautiful song. And I looked into the lyrics of it, and fittingly with the show, it's kind of a song about saying goodbye, and you know that, like, nostalgia will stay with you for, like, the time that you spent with these people. And I ended up using that song to make a slideshow for all of my friends after we graduated high school.
Very fitting.
Yeah, and even some of them that hadn't seen anime or like knew the song, they looked up the lyrics and they were like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful, like I just cried.
Right.
So
Hashtag
yeah,
Cami's trying to kill people with their feelings.
I do that quite often. Yes, you get to know me, it's very much a staple. But yeah, and I'm trying to think of anime that are oriented more towards music where there's been a piece. Recently for me, in Yuri on Ice, the song that he danced his long solo competition to, the song Yuri on Ice, I listen to that constantly. For me, it really embodies a person with anxiety and still trying to flourish. And as someone who, you know, has a lot of anxiety, it really, really resonates with me. And sometimes on my bad days, I just, you know, I need to listen to it so I can get ready to tackle the day. And yeah, it's awesome. Anyone else have a song in mind?
I'm gonna kick John under the bus. The sad thing is I have
Dang.
answers, but I'm not gonna say them.
Yet.
I actually have 3 answers to this off the top that I can think of.
Tell me.
One of
Tell me
them I
everything.
have mentioned, not here, but I've mentioned to people in the past. The first one I'm gonna mention is just kind of a bit silly, and is actually kind of to do with the last suggestion question that I mentioned. So I really like the Gundam Build Fighters and Build Fighters Tri soundtrack.
Oh, fuck you. I should have
Yeah.
gone first.
That's
one of my answers.
See, now he low-jacked it from you. Now you gotta come up with something different.
It's fine. I've got other options.
No, mine is a very, very silly thing because it is. I tend to listen to it when I'm building Gunpla because
Ooh, that's
I'm
so
a huge
cute.
dork.
Oh my
That's
gosh. That is
adorable.
adorable.
I'm not gonna say it's adorable.
Yeah, well, 2 out of 3
Damn
podcast
it.
hosts would agree. John.
Damn it! Democracy!
Beautiful and cute. There you go.
So that's the first one, but the other 2, there's Last Regrets from Canon. there has been a couple of times where I've moved several times in my life now, and the time that I moved from Canvey Island to Harwich, and that was the big move that I made, because I had a good number of friends during school and college that I'd made during my time living in Canvey Island, and when it came to the day we was moving away, I remember I was sitting in the very back seat of this 8-seater, not exactly minibus, but somewhere between a car and a minibus, basically a van for people, and I basically had the entire back seat to myself because I was the only one that could climb back there, and I was listening to music on my MP3 player, and I just had it on shuffle when right as we was on the bridge coming off of the island, because Canvey Island is an island, Last Regrets comes on, and I was so bloody thankful that I was in the back on my own, because I did not stop crying the entire time that song was playing.
Geez.
I dared not skip it, and it kind of just, like, the moment those first piano keys come on and I recognized the song, I was like, oh fuck, just let me do this song right fucking now. And it's been a couple of times since when I've just been listening to songs on my MP3 player and that song's come on, and I've remembered that moment, a couple of other similar moments of me moving away from friends and just like
yeah, that's so sweet. Oh jeez.
But there is actually one more story that I want to give, and is actually a bit more of a serious thing, because it was when I was at university, and it was around the time when I was starting to have a pretty major emotional breakdown, that ultimately led to me completely dropping out. And I couldn't remember when I had heard this song. I couldn't remember downloading it. But somehow the lyrics and the tune of it just stuck in my head, and it became something that was sort of supporting me, and like I was going off for random long walks just humming this tune to myself, because it felt like the only thing keeping my head level for a while. And it was Shiranai Sora by Tanaka Rie from the Chobits soundtrack.
Oh.
And it was only afterwards that I actually went back and found the lyrics and a translation of the lyrics to find out what it was about, and it was just it was kind of scary realizing how much the lyrics kind of fit with what I felt like I was going through at the time.
I see. Nice.
And I hadn't read the lyrics before. I couldn't remember where I had found this song from, and it basically had been me going on a bit of a binge, downloading anything from any songs I could find from any anime I recognized, and one of them was Chobits. And I must have listened to it, but I couldn't remember it. So yeah, that's
kind of magical.
Nice.
Nice.
It's definitely an example of me thinking like there's something about music that transcends language.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a feeling of a song even if you don't actually understand the lyrics that it's written in. But yeah, those are my 3 examples. And also just to say, my emotional breakdown from university, that was coming up to 10 years ago, so I am recovered.
Awesome.
I'm
Always
good
here.
now.
But still listening to the same songs.
Right?
Yes, still listen to the same songs. There's some new songs on there, but
I'm just messing with you.
Cass, what music do you listen to? What evokes steady emotion?
I'm
Well,
very
I
curious
mean-
about your build fighters.
Well, I mean, in comparison to, John tinkering away at his gunpla while listening to Gundam Build Fires, that's way cuter than me listening to Back On and running on a treadmill, so...
Yeah, you gotta get
Like-
pumped up somehow. Yeah.
Like you just picture him over his cute little bear guy or something else, and then you pan over to me listening to the same music, huffing with sweat flying in the air and my hair all over the place, and me screaming, "Let me out! Top me out, coach! I don't
Nope.
want to anymore."
Nope,
But
you can't.
Cassie, then you whip your hair back right as the second opening song goes, and it's just perfect.
The sad thing is that I tend to listen to Nibun no Ichi, which is the first opening.
Okay.
But the second opening I listen to from time to time, but the other one is what I actually have on, that's the one I have, Nibun no Ichi, which is by Back On. And I have that one on my actual, physical iPod. And that's what I typically take with me to the gym, or used to take to the gym. I used to listen to exclusively to music when I went to the gym. Which Craig can verify because he used to go with me to the gym. But now I watch anime because we have so much anime on our plate that now I just do anime whenever I'm doing anything.
You're swimming in it.
It's just like, Cassie, what are you doing while you're watching anime? I'm watching more anime.
You're dual screen anime.
But I do actually have a funny story about a completely different series. So everybody knows that I am a Hunter x Hunter fanatic.
What?
I know, right?
Okay.
I actually have this really weird ritual when I go on plane rides.
I didn't recall this.
I know, I've told you about it before, Craig, a long time ago, but
Yeah.
the opening song for, I think it's an opening for most of the series, actually. I think they keep it through most of it.
Yeah, it's the same one, but different animation.
Yeah, well, they
jump
changed
back
it
and
for...
forth between 2 different choruses or something, or verses.
Well, there were, for example, the Great Island arc had a different opening.
I did it.
Well, not, completely different, but, different parts of the song.
Yeah, that's what he was saying, different, chorus
Yeah.
or whatever.
But anyway, the point is, though, the opening is called Departure. And
That's cute.
and it's about departing and going on a journey and spreading your wings and, yada yada. So
You
whenever
can fly away.
Yeah, so I listen to this song whenever I'm on planes.
That's precious, and I love you.
And I also have several versions of the song. I even have one version of the song where the voice actress for Killua sang the song. And
How many times have you listened to that one?
We don't talk about that. I also have Gon singing it. So I have the original Gon and Killua, and normally by the time I play those back to back to back, we're already in the air.
Perfect.
Nice.
So that's one funny, silly story that's become an actual ritual. I feel like it's bad luck now if I don't do it. And then, this is just silly, but sometimes when I'm really stressed, I'll sing the Dango song to myself.
Aww.
Aw.
Like, Dango,
Daikazaku.
Dango,
It's very calming. I think that's a good fit.
Daikazaku.
Yes.
We're plugging so much anime music. People are just gonna go to iTunes and see if they can find individual tracks in these things.
I mean, that would be good to do, but those are the only things that I could really think of off the top of my head, which I kind of like that this topic was brought up on the fly, because it makes you think, off the top of your head, what are the songs that you think of. I also like torturing people with anime music. Like, I like playing Yosoku in Cami's presence at all times.
You know, you don't need to do that all the time.
Which is from Idolmaster, and is sung by Chihaya, a girl in the show. So that's fun. I also love using anime music as a biological weapon against those I care about.
A biological weapon.
My anime Modern Warfare edition. Yeah. What about you, Craig?
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Cami? Sorry.
Yeah. I was just saying, yeah. What about Craig?
Okay.
So, a lot of songs, Cass can vouch for this, that I get these kicks where I like to listen to random anime OPs, just like a straight playlist, or I'll listen to orchestral music of video games and all that sort of shit. So, like, man, I don't really have any funny stories, so just basically I'm just gonna name drop a few tracks. Allies from Aldenoa Zero. I said previously in the last episode that anything that Hiroyuki Sawano touches is fucking gold. Whether or not the product itself is gold remains to be seen, but he's done a shit ton of soundtracks for anime and video games alike. You can find a lot of his stuff on iTunes. Silhouette from Naruto Shippuden, that invokes a pretty cool story arc in the anime. Let's see, Hero's Comeback is the first opening for that show, which essentially gets you pumped up. So I like a lot of pump up music that gets your blood flowing. I guess I have a story. Me and my friend Zach used to watch this show called Kamen O's, and the opening for that, this obviously being not anime, it's tokusatsu, but the opening is called Anything Goes. So me and him would amateurly sing this every single week. Cass knows this song, actually, because we showed it to her at one point or another, but it's actually pretty cool. It was a good bonding experience.
Nice.
Nothing, like I said, nothing too somber or whatnot, but good usage of insert songs is also key.
Yes.
Not to go into too much detail about it, but I saw the movie Your Name, and that has a lot of good music in that. Good orchestral music, or not orchestral, but instrumentals, along with insert songs as well. Good placement evokes good emotion and peace. And I will finish that by saying, Kuroko no Basket.
Oh
Cami,
my god!
Again, this is like what the third week talking about Kuroko no Basket, but you put that OP during games, the hype level goes through the roof.
Oh my god, I lost my shit during season 3, and they just do a throwback to season 1's opening, and I lost my mind.
Yep, can do it.
But yeah. I actually thought of one other story whenever you were done.
Yeah, that's basically all I got. What you got?
So, a music-oriented show, like severely music-oriented, one of my favorites is Kids on the Slope, or Sakamichi no Apollon. Which is special to me because it focuses on jazz music. And for anyone that doesn't know, I was raised on jazz music. And by that, I mean that it was my dad's favorite music growing up, and he always had control of the car radio. So we went on road trips, and I have heard these songs just for years. Like, it's in my blood. Whether I chose that or not. But I have a lot of appreciation for that. And it was really neat to watch a show that paid homage to a lot of the music and the music artists that I grew up with. And there is a jazz version of the song My Favorite Things from The Sound of Music in Kids on the Slope. And it's a jazz version that I really like. My dad is a fan of an instrumental jazz version of My Favorite Things as well. So at one point I decided, because as mentioned earlier, like with our Patreon, I like to do some anime song covers. So I managed to do a cover of My Favorite Things, the version from Kids on the Slope. And then a couple months later, my dad's birthday came around, and I decided to make him a mix CD. So I said, he likes jazzy versions of My Favorite Things, so I'll just put this on here. And so then it was Father's Day, and we were having dinner, and I played it for him, and I just said, so Dad, you've guessed who all these other singers are on this CD, so now try to guess who this is. And so he is just listening to the song as it goes, and he guesses a couple names, and then he's like, I really don't know who it is. And so then I just started, I like opened my mouth and was just like phrasing the words, and then he caught on, and as soon as he caught on, he burst into tears and was like sobbing from happiness. And it really like struck me because my dad doesn't show his emotions that way, but he was just, I guess, really, really moved that I had done that and given it to him, and I started crying. Of course, it was just like super emotional for both of us. It was great. And then later we ended up watching the show as well, and that was a nice little tie-in and bond. And the fact that anime, like music in an anime, could create this bond between me and my dad, and he's not someone who watches anime. It's really cool. That's
nice.
That's also transcendental. So yeah.
I'm trying to think of other times, because like typically when we go through series and we talk about music, I feel like that's the like where I struggle the most to make a comment about, like either it was all right, or this is really good,
just there,
or it was just there. But I never really tend to get super attached unless it's something like, for example, Departure or whatever. So I'm trying to think of like soundtracks that I like. Alden No Zero is the only one I can think of that I'm like, I downloaded the whole soundtrack.
I say liar, I say crier.
But then again, the soundtrack was the only real good thing about Alden No Zero.
Oh.
Okay, fine. The first season. Other than the first season.
So we should talk about that show at length in a later episode.
Maybe one day. Maybe if it ranks low enough on my anime list, I'll go in the Diamond in the Rough episode, but I highly doubt it.
Oh.
My boyfriend loves Nana, which is a total music-oriented show.
I need to watch Nana.
It's super good. It also has really good music. The whole scene of that is like based around just like a rock band. So it's got really cool like heavy rock music that you don't usually I don't know. It's unique. It's definitely a unique aspect about the show. And then for my boyfriend's birthday, I sang his favorite song from Nana for him. I sang him Wish by I can't remember her name. It's the woman who plays the character Reira, and he loves her voice. So that's another bit. Nana has really good music as well.
I would also recommend two other music-oriented shows. We reference Kids on the Slope, but there's also this last season, Fuka. If you want to if you want to listen to some good like cover bands and whatnot, that's pretty cool to see them get into the industry. Along with Cass, was this 2015 or 2016? I'm losing track of dates, but Your Lie in April. Beautiful score.
The thing about Your Lie in April is that a lot of it is just
piano.
Well, it's not even just that, but it's like literally like not piano work that necessarily was made for the show, but actual shit by like Debussy and crap like that.
Oh, you're right. They did a lot of Chopin and whatnot, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'm probably not even remembering the name of them. So that's the one thing about... Yeah, like that's one of the reasons why it's really hard for me to recommend the Your Lie in April soundtrack, just because half of it is an anime original anyway.
Fate Zero has a
emotion.
phenomenal soundtrack of just instrumentals.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But that's also the same guy who... I think that's the same person who did Al No Zero, wasn't it?
I believe so.
I'd have to double check on that one.
Sawano? I can check.
Yeah.
Okay. That guy's everywhere.
The guy does good things. He's
he does.
I don't think
beautiful boy.
I think it was a woman for Fate Zero soundtrack. But
let me go look up Fate Zero. I may be wrong. I know that I really liked.
I think it was Yuki Kajira. Yeah, it was Yuki Kajira who did Fate
Zero.
Wait, did Yuki
Sword Art
Kajira
Online
do? Yeah, I was about to say because Sword Art Online has a really good fucking soundtrack too.
Yes,
I know Yuki Kajira does a whole lot, but let me see here. I think
I'm getting them all mixed up. Those are the two people that I just get mixed up constantly because they're like everywhere, and
they
like
do Sword Art Online,
and they both do like super grand scale like music.
Yeah,
like
in
your face orchestras kind of.
Attack on Titan is Sawano with orchestral in your face too. I find that Sawano kind of does like techno-y as well too.
Yuki Kajira also did music for Tsubasa, which has a phenomenal soundtrack as well. Oh my gosh.
I hope all these guys can be found on the iTunes, because we're just giving them plugs out the wazoo here. They
I'm
deserve
pretty
them,
sure
though. They
people
deserve
can
them.
find anime music.
Yeah, true.
It's not a foreign concept.
There's one series that, well, not series actually, one movie that that's popped into my head, and I was sitting here for the longest time thinking, oh shit, what's it called? Going back to how Cami mentioned the jazz version of
My Favorite Things?
My Favorite Things. Anthem of the Heart. All of the songs in that are songs from musicals, but they've come up with their own lyrics for these songs, but they're using the same score. And I really enjoyed listening to. I'm not big on musicals myself, but I just really enjoyed listening to the songs from Anthem of the Heart. And Anthem of the Heart as a movie is just really touching and good watch.
I enjoyed that film.
Penguin Drum's soundtrack is very unique and I love it, but maybe that's just me.
I liked Penguin Drum, especially the OPs or the opening songs. Those were pretty great. But also the music actually in the show was pretty standout as well.
Another series that I've actually got the full soundtrack for is actually Dot Hack
Yuki Kachira.
But that's the AD Project dub, because I just like how I like kind of the creepy side of it.
That's cool.
It's describing them as creepy isn't really doing justice, but there's a certain sound to their music that I just really dig. So, and they do have some creepy soundtracks for creepy scenes, but yeah, I just really like that. Anyway,
speaking of good things that we like, such as music, we like shows, we like anime. We're gonna review an anime.
I hate anime.
Completely.
Why am I here? I'm leaving.
Well, too bad. You're the rock that holds this whole entire thing together. You're the foundation of this shit.
Rocks don't hold things together. They break things. You drop them on things. You can use a rock as a murder weapon.
Stop it. No, we don't need violence in this. We're gonna talk about.
Actually, we had an entire podcast dedicated to how some of us actually enjoy violence in anime.
I don't need
and violence in general.
I don't need your sass right now. We're gonna review a show, guys. It's called Sangatsu no Lion, aka March Comes In Like a Lion. Get hype, everyone!
Yay! Unfortunately, I haven't actually seen this one, so I am going to have to step out and.
It's
wish
okay,
everyone
John.
Have fun.
What?
We
Bye,
will.
John,
We
John,
will
why
see
did
you again next week.
Why are you leaving me, John? What did I do? Baby, come back!
Later, John. Thanks for being here.
Peace out.
Bye.
Anytime. Bye-bye.
All right, now we execute him.
God damn it. No. That was hardcore.
Hey, man, I've been watching a lot of playthroughs of Danganronpa V3, and my Danganronpa obsession never quite goes away.
It's kind of skyrocketed again. You're really thirsty to watch people play that game.
I'm really thirsty to just apparently watch people murder people. But anyway, that's not what happens in this show.
Far from it.
Very far from it.
Shogi is like a death match.
Team deathmatch, and by team I mean only me against you.
Ray has called it like a slugfest. Each clack sounds like a hit. But either way, as I said, Sangatsu no Lion, aka March Comes In Like a Lion. The anime studio here is Studio Shaft, who's been known for shows such as Nisekoi False Love, or Nisekoi Fake Love, Denpa Onna to Seishun Otoko, or Denpa Onna.
Me too.
I haven't seen much of it. I just know it has a blue-haired girl that likes to think she's an alien.
Oh, maybe we can write that down for possibly a future like host choice or something. Because it's a pretty good one. Maybe think about it.
And also the fantastic yet fucking dark and depressing Maho Shoujo Madoka Magica.
Oh, you forgot a really important one.
What?
Head Tilts, the animation.
The Gatari series.
Well, I wasn't actually saying to reference that show. I was referencing the fact that those are
everything they do.
It's a sequel to several color Head Tilts, the animation.
We could also call that show Head Tilt Guitari. That's the comprehensive title of the entire series.
The thing being, the only point of contention is they didn't work on Katana Gatari. They worked on every Gatari except that.
Katana Gatari was also a fantastic show, by the way.
Nice.
But that is not what we're talking about.
That's neither here nor there.
I'm being very random today. You guys,
it's all good.
Craig, you get to be the person who reels me in today.
Hey, you know what? I try my best, but I don't like to interrupt and cut people off from their point of thought.
I feel you.
Let us continue onwards. With the synopsis here. Having reached professional status in middle school, Rei Kiriyama is one of the few elite in the world of shogi. Due to this, he faces an enormous amount of pressure, both from the shogi community and his adoptive family. Seeking independence from his tense home life, he moves into an apartment in Tokyo. As an 11-year-old living on his own, Rei tends to take poor care of himself, and his reclusive personality ostracizes him from his peers in school and at the shogi hall. However, not long after his arrival in Tokyo, Rei meets Akari, Hinata, and Momo Kawamoto, a trio of sisters living with their grandfather who owns a traditional wagashi shop. Oh, so that's what that's called. I always considered it a sweet shop. Akari, the oldest of the three girls, is determined to combat Rei's loneliness and poorly sustained lifestyle with motherly hospitality. The Kawamoto sisters, coping with past tragedies of their own, also share with Rei a unique familial bond that he has lacked for most of his life. As he struggles to maintain himself physically and mentally through his shogi career, Rei must learn how to interact with others and understand his own complex emotions. So, feelings are hard, guys, and this show, on the whole, I do the Bruno Mars "Gotta Kiss Myself So Pretty" to the show.
I'm not quite sure what that means, but I enjoy it very much.
I think it means he likes it. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, were you saying "Gotta Kiss Myself, I'm So Pretty" as in like this show is too hot? Hot damn.
It could be that, or it's the hip lingo-y way to say, "I tip my hat to you, good sir. You've done a good job." Because I may be jumping ahead, so Cass, you're gonna have to reel me back just a little bit here. But hot damn, this show! I was texting Cass on the side yesterday when I was binging the show, Cami. But man, the way this is shot, the character animations. Fluid as hell. Its cinematography is on point.
Well, considering we're talking about a Shaft show, I don't mind if we talk about the visuals and production before we talk about the characters and story. That's fine.
Needless to say, since it is Shaft, there is the tilt. The infamous tilt. There's a lot of tilt.
There is significantly less tilt than usual.
Oh, true enough. They don't bend themselves backwards in order to do the tilt.
I had mixed feelings about the tilt, but again, I think that comes from reading the manga first, and just knowing the manga artist style. So I kept being like, Shaft, stop like assaulting us with head tilt that like isn't in the source material. But to be fair,
okay,
like,
so it wasn't in there.
Yeah, as the series goes on, it became less of a distraction for me. And so for anyone also who doesn't know, I'm kind of massively like obsessive and a purist with the author of this material, Chika Umino. So yeah, I have a lot of bias, and I'll admit that right away.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, that the thing that we have to remember is that head tilts aren't necessarily a thing in manga to begin with.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
I had
it's an adaptation. So as long as it wasn't Bakemonogatari status of head tilts, I mean, I remember there was one episode I watched with you when we first started watching the show together, Cami, because we did start watching it together first, and we both were just like, "Oh, Shaft."
Exactly. Yeah. It's really
Shaft.
not a huge issue. It's just a minor complaint on my end.
But exactly. It's more just like, that little kid who keeps doing that one thing that bothers you. Like,
Yes.
But that's it. It's not like a huge, because everything else that Shaft does in the show is very beautiful. I love everything they do when they touch water.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it be literal water, like lakes or rivers that he crosses the bridge on, to actual literal representations of water being splashed, or they use water a lot to represent depression in this show.
Visual imagery is, again, on point. Like, all of it. Metaphors out the wazoo. Cami, I don't know if this is going too broad or too off the beaten path, but you said you're a diehard purist of this mangaka's work, Honey and Clover, in this. Which do you prefer out of the two works that... I'm assuming it's a she, right?
It is, yes.
Okay.
That's not something I guess I can fairly answer yet, simply because...
It's not done.
It's not fully adapted yet.
Fair
Honey
point.
and Clover was fully adapted. And so, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But I love both of them quite a bit. So.
Okay.
I will say this: I've never been more motivated to want to watch Honey and Clover than after I watched this.
Yeah,
So.
I figured it'd be an easy way to slide in.
That's what he said.
Oh,
no.
My! So let's take it back. Man, I don't really know how to tackle this thing because I just kind of flub when it comes to my feelings towards things.
Well, we don't
I just
have to
spout words.
We don't have to keep taking it back. I think us having a conversation for longer than a couple of minutes about production is fine.
True.
Especially because all we've really talked about is the backgrounds and just basic symbolism in the show, which there's tons of it, and they do it well. And there are head tilts, but they're not bad. But we haven't talked about anything else.
If I could chime in for sound as well, though, that also accompanied the symbolic visuals as well. Whenever we'd see water used as that depressive metaphor, there was just perfect, like, the water sound effects, whether it was, like, rushing and super loud because he's, like, stressed out, or it was just, like, the slight bubble, like, when he's alone and by himself. They did a lot with their background noise, whether it was diegetic or not, and it served... It just served to make the show extra immersive. The show is super immersive. Like, once you are in, you are just absorbed. And I think a lot of that has to do with the production.
Oh, totally. And even when there's no sound, they perfectly utilize silence a few times as well. There's one scene in particular in an early episode where it leads up to a very very large emotional release. And the music just completely stops. And there's not, like, literally, you don't even hear people talking. There's a person crying in the scene. You don't hear her crying, but you see her crying.
Oh my God, yes.
And that entire scene was so emotionally impacting because it was completely silent.
That was done beautifully. I agree.
A good utilization of music with the scene selection was whenever Ray would go to the Kawamoto sisters' home. They would play that song just to, like, he described it in the show as, like, their house is essentially a kotatsu. I messaged Cass last night while, again, binging this. I'm like, Cass, we need to get a kotatsu. I want a kotatsu. I want to be warm and be lazy and just be, like, enveloped in warm.
Out of this beautiful piece that is a character study in depression and overcoming personal doubt, he just takes out of it, I want a kotatsu.
Yo, dog, I want a kotatsu. That seems really dope. I want to be surrounded by people. I mean, it's a hint for next week's thing, but kotatsus are cool. It brings people together.
One thing that was interesting, though, is that I feel like there's almost hardly anything I can complain about in the first half of the show, production-wise. And I feel like this is the same thing with characters as well. It's just like the first half of the show is almost a masterpiece.
I feel ya.
And then you get to the second half, and things start to slow down. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, and we'll get to that when it comes to characters and story. But even the animation at times, like, it was still really good, but there are times where it was really funky.
Yeah.
Like, I remember there was one scene in particular with an older gentleman that he gets to know, and oh god, what was his name? Nikaido's brother.
Shimada.
Shimada. There we go. There's a scene of Shimada, and I didn't get to text you about this, Cami, and I wanted to. I wanted to just, like, take a screenshot of it and send it to you, and just be like, oh my god, he's so moe all of a sudden. Because they had a flashback or something or a dream he's having where he's sitting in a room with a bunch of old people, and suddenly his eyes are super large for no fucking reason.
Oh, right.
Like, way off character model for him, and I was like, that was really odd.
Listen, Shogi takes a lot of life out of you, and clearly it's draining his life force.
And making him look younger?
No,
I'm talking about, like, specifically his eyes looked wider and, like, sparklier, like, as if they forgot they were, you know, like, I don't know, like, the people who were editing Love Live Sunshine Season 2 accidentally got his character model, instead. And
so he's far more,
like,
I'm gonna have to go back and look at that.
It was just for a couple of frames. I mean, I'll find it and send it to you guys later, but this happened a lot in the second half, but not so much that it was distracting, and normally it would only be on, like, singular frames. And maybe it's just because me and Cami do editing that I just notice singular frames so much.
Ah, there you go. There you go.
Even when I'm watching something in real time, sometimes I'll notice a really strange frame, and then I'll rewind the anime and go back and watch it again and be like, what?
So here's my thought. What if they fix it in the Blu-ray?
I mean, they'll fix almost everything in a Blu-ray. Like, but I was gonna ask if you guys felt the same way, because, like, I felt like the music and the symbol, like, they never stopped with having that beautiful sound technicianry. What's the word for it?
The engineering.
The sound tech work was great throughout the entire show. The symbolisms they continued on within the second half of the show. But to me, like, it felt like the animation quality, while still good, had its moments where it was a little weird. Whereas, like, compared to the first half, compared to the first half, which was like a fucking oil painting, felt like you could hang it in a freaking museum.
You could.
I think the only thing I noticed, I didn't necessarily notice anything in the animation itself, but there were far more still frames used.
A lot of close-ups and people standing still.
Yeah, lots of basically, like, minimalistic tactics, and who knows why they necessarily did that, but I noticed it. But again, especially compared to a lot of other shows slated in the same season, oh my gosh, like, yeah, they were one of the higher tier.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And it's a 2-core anime, so it was like 20, what was it, 22? Yep. 22 episodes. So yeah, it was a long-running show, so I almost expected it, but it was like if I have to find something to complain about, you gotta find something. It's just that, but even that wasn't that bad. So I feel like the presentation in this show, like, there's not even much more to say in regards to it.
Can we talk about how good the voice actors were? Can we talk about how fucking cute Momo sounds? Oh my god.
Oh my god. The three sisters were all so perfectly characterized, and even Kiriyama, whoever voiced him, God bless. I don't quite a range.
Who did?
Quite a range.
Because Kiriyama is an interesting character in that he goes from being very stoic or whatever to being extremely anxious to, what? You want me to do what? Like,
yeah, exactly.
He did a very good job.
Yeah.
So I'd agree. Every single character in the show, they picked the perfect voice actors.
Yeah, some I recognized from other things. It was really funny to notice that that Kiriyama's teacher was voiced by the same guy who did Misaki from Junjo Romantica, so aka a very stereotypical, like, yaoi anime uke, and it was funny just hearing him in this, like, middle-aged teacher role. And then you had based Kanahana as Hina, Kana Hanazawa, and just a lot of people that were recognizable, but they just melded into their roles perfectly. And so props to the casting director on that.
I just quickly looked into this. Rei Kiriyama is voiced by Kengo Kawanishi.
Yeah, I just looked him up, and he also has, let's see here. What else has he done? I was looking it up. His name doesn't sound familiar, but he's cute. Like he cute.
He cute?
He's cute. He's cute. He cute. But yeah, he did a really good job.
Yeah.
I also think Akari was voiced by a very well-known actress whose name I can't remember. She was Chisaki in Nagi no Asukara, to give an example. But yeah,
beautiful.
She often plays like softer characters. I think she fits really well as a nurturing character, though, as Akari was.
Real motherly.
Yeah, so that was also very, very good performance, I think. Everyone did great.
I love her. She is so cute. Apparently she's voiced by Ai Kayano.
Yeah.
Who has also been in... What else has she been in? She was Menma in Anohana.
Oh my god.
She's also, what is it?
She was also Shina Mashido in Pet Girl Sakura, so...
She was main girl and Tales of Zestria, Alicia.
Main girl. I was about to say that.
Alicia.
That's real big help, Craig.
Listen, I don't know when put on the spot, but speaking of characters, what do we think of the characters? Who do we love? Who do we hate?
Or how well were they presented?
How well were they presented? Were some of them better than others? I don't know. I feel as though, we discussed this off pod, but I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of Ray's sister, but I don't know how much I can disclose about that without considering it a spoiler.
Let's start with Ray, since he's our main.
Yeah,
main
definitely. And I think that one of the great things about Ray is that he's such an interesting character, and that he blatantly knows that he's dealing with depression. And how he goes about doing so, and how they even show how he is depressed is so realistic. Like the fact that he just gets up and goes, or he doesn't even take care of himself. And then they completely kind of make a foil to that with the sisters was great.
Yes.
Something that Chika Umino's works do really well, she just does a lot of internal monologues for her characters, so they immediately feel really intimate. And I don't think Ray was any exception, especially for people that can relate to the stuff that he's going through. He's just very, very relatable character. And it's like the way that she develops her characters makes them feel real, but by doing very little. I mean,
grounded.
The first 5 minutes, maybe not 5 minutes, maybe like 2 minutes of the first episode is completely silent. Ray doesn't hear a single thing. And you already get this pretty perceptive glimpse into who he is. And it really only expands on there. And things like background story as well, and their past, is trickled in throughout the narrative. It's not just like, hi, my name is Ray, and I
dumped
do this.
on you all at once.
Yes, it feels very natural. It's really just like getting to know someone in real life. And I appreciate that a lot.
And as he grows as a character throughout the show is very subtle. And everything that helps him grow as a character is things that you could realistically see happening. Like, it's not like, I don't know, like a Naruto episode where he meets somebody by coincidence that can teach him the super awesome epic technique or something. Or, or a slice of life, rival. Or like in a slice of life show, how conveniently a love rival shows up or something. Everything that happens with Ray makes sense. Like, the people he interacts with make sense. The way he met Akari and the sisters makes sense. The reasons Nakaido is drawn to him and wants to motivate him make sense. The fact that
Nakaido's such a bro.
That Ray actually starts to understand that he needs to start relying on other people, that doesn't happen immediately. It's a struggle almost to the end of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he slowly is starting to get it, and I'm so proud.
Well, and I love that he reflects on tiny moments. Like, there's one time where he goes and has dinner with the family, and he's like, and then I felt warm, like, all the way back home to my apartment. Like, just those tiny little moments that feel insignificant that can really shape a person are highlighted in this show. And specifically through him, I think, more than anybody else. Just, again, so special. I love the show.
And it's just not like solely with him. They flesh out characters as well. I mean, the Kawamoto sisters have their own issues to deal with. There's an episode like within the first 3 that actually emphasizes that pretty well. And then you realize the gravitas of what's wrong with him and what's wrong with the Kawamoto sisters as a whole.
Well, also, like, even just very small characters that you never see again have a significance. Like, for example, there is a baseball player who Kiriyama...
Oh, yeah, I do recall him.
Who Kiriyama sits down with and talks to, and it's just one conversation. We never see this baseball player freaking ever again. And I hope we do at some point, maybe in season 2, he just kind of comes back around just for the heck of it. But him and Kiriyama just sit down and they have a conversation about life and why we do what we do as people. Why do we go to school every day? Or if you're succeeding, what's the best way to continue that success? And why is it important? And that little tiny conversation was something that actually gave Ray a lot of relief, and he got it from just talking to somebody he had never spoken to before.
Yeah, wasn't the context of it like he
well,
asked
I don't want to ruin the context.
Oh, okay, fair.
Let me also just say, I guess, for me personally, and everybody has their different perspective, but my favorite parts of the show was honestly whenever the Kawamoto sisters were on screen. I love them, and I love the environment that they're in and the things that they provide, which can totally be, well, as we said, it can be something that's also somber, as a lot of the show has, but they also bring a lot of, like, the cheer and the humor and the warmth to the show, and it just, it feels so earnest. And
during the second half of the show, that's what I looked forward to, is seeing scenes of them. I was like, yeah, okay, I get the Shogi aspect here, but what's up with the Kawamotos? What we got going on with them and their grandfather? All right, cool.
Yeah, I think they were my favorite part too, but at the same time, I understand why they were kind of more. You know, let's talk about that in the spoiler section.
I was about to just like, my thoughts was it's Ray's story. He is obviously the MC in this, so
he can't be around them constantly, and I think that there were reasons why maybe we didn't see as much of the sisters in the second half. But I don't want to talk too much about that, because I feel like that starts bleeding into spoilers. But overall, characters, I feel, even side characters in this show have so much purpose.
Oh, they're so good.
And honestly, like, when I started this show last year, because this aired in fall of 2016, and this is going to be actually, I believe, the last show that we're going to talk about that started last year and finished this season. It was like my favorite show from last year. It's such a breath of fresh air from most anime. There's no fan service in the show, by the way.
No.
None.
No, there's
zilch.
No.
0. Which is so nice.
Nikaido was a fantastic character. The teacher was a fantastic character. You can honestly just, like, list names with this show.
They're good. They're a good support system.
There was actually one character that was not an ongoing character that showed up in one episode. But he was a catalyst for Ray finally realizing that he needed some fucking emotional release.
Oh, okay, I do recall who you're talking about.
Yeah, so like everything is so important, and I really love the writing in the show, and I think that Shaft, for what it's worth, did a great job of adapting it, because I've gone back and started reading the manga, because I need more, because I'm a crack addict.
Did you just start from scratch, or are you going...
I started from scratch. I started at the very, very beginning.
Okay.
Just because I wanted to see what was different and how it was changed, at all, if at all, with between the anime and the manga. And for the record, I think for the most part, Shaft did a pretty dang good job, minus those head tilts we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I'd say the same. Yeah. They even split it up by the chapters, which I loved, and they had all the titles and everything. Yep. That was really sweet little nod.
That's what I liked as well. I'm like, chapter 1, chapter 2, I'm like, these are the actual chapters of the actual manga, isn't it? Cool.
And they even kept the talking cats.
And that was very interesting to me, because that's something that, like, talking animals is also a slight thing in Honey and Clover, but it was only subtitles. So I thought it was very interesting of Shaft this time around to actually, like, put their dialogue in, and half the time it overlays over other characters, so it's distracting, but again, it just fits with, like, the chaos of the house, like, wherever they were and stuff. I liked it a lot.
They just want food. They just want the food.
They just want food and love. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about this show. Ray specifically, I think, was great. We already brushed on the sisters. And we can't talk all...
The opening and ending are phenomenal.
Yep. I wasn't...
Bump a chicken.
I know that we kind of disagree, but I'm not a huge fan of the second opening, and that's maybe because I just got so used to the first one.
I agree. I think that's a total sensible thing. Again, the people that appreciate the second opening, like me and a friend of mine, appreciate it just because of the vocalist, because she sang the Honey and Clover opening. So it's just like massive emotional and contextual relationship. But most people, I think, would agree with you in thinking that or preferring the first opening.
Well, I think for me also, it's just like, and even the ending, which I like the ending.
I think that's fair. Yeah,
I like the ending as well.
Too.
I liked the ending of I love the second opening as well, but the thing I loved about the first opening and the the first opening and the first ending is I felt like the opening and the ending were connected and were almost telling a story. Like how, Kiriyama was like falling into depression and then the ending is all about coming out of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's what the show's about. This is great. And then I felt like the second opening was like, hi, bubblegum pop.
I would not.
And then it showed all the characters.
I don't think it's bubblegum pop personally, but that's just agree to disagree.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, like, it's such a happy song, and like, it shows just happy people constantly. There are a couple of scenes. There are a couple of scenes towards the middle and end that aren't, but like, I don't know. It just didn't leave as much of an impact on me as like, I'm gonna fight through my depression.
Yeah, to each their own. I think it's just kind of another evolved step. Like, because I don't think that Kiriyama's, like, all the way out of the water, but I think of it at that point as, like, he's halfway, where he's kind of submerged in the first one.
He's in the shallow. He's in the kiddie pool section of this.
Well,
he's got to get out.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, it's all about, like, it doesn't keep that motif, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
At all. There's no water at all. Like, it's all about just showing the characters like any other anime opening.
I guess for me it didn't bother me because I don't feel like the water motif is quite as prevalent in the manga versus the anime, but
interesting.
I'd have to reread because I can't remember.
I don't know, but it's just like something that they had beaten into your skull at that point almost, and it was so connected, and whereas I feel like the second opening, it was just like, it didn't stick out to me as different from any other opening, and it's just so happy and I don't know.
I'll just agree to disagree because I don't need to run circles in our podcast.
Oh, I know. I know. I was just saying, like, that. There's just a difference. It is happier than the first opening.
I'll be honest and say, since I binged this within 2 days, I skipped most of the openings and then I skipped all the endings. I only watched them like once or twice.
You had a lot of episodes to get through.
Well, if there is anything I can say, I never skipped any of the openings. I still feel like the second opening was really good. And for the record, I really like the vocalist.
Yeah.
She's really cute. Like I said, the only reason why I have a preference is because I just like, it's such a drastic change. But at the same time,
Symbolism!
it happens. That happens always. That happens a lot with 2-core anime, though.
Right?
Where,
like,
because like if I think about it, like Akatsuki no Yona, for example. The first opening was so impactful and so different, and I watched it every single time, and it had no lyrics, and it spoke to me, and I was like, oh my god, this is so connected to the story, and then it went to the second opening, and I just like, this isn't bad.
I like the second
totally
opening more than the first opening.
Of Akatsuki no Yona?
Yeah, of Akatsuki no Yona.
Really?
Yeah, that's just my opinion, though.
I don't know.
But then again, I have terrible taste.
Agree to disagree, roll it
exactly,
back.
I agree to disagree. I mean, like, see, well, I mean, there's another example where it's just, like, for me, like, the second opening of Akatsuki no Yona, and I'm gonna wrap this up, because we're gonna keep ranting, but, like, for me, it was just, like, this isn't as connected to what everything else I've seen in the show so far. But it was still an okay opening.
Yeah.
For Sangatsu no Lion's defense, though, the second opening at least didn't recycle animations from the first opening.
Oh my god.
It actually was entertaining to watch. But yeah, the openings and endings, by the way, as much as criticism as I'm giving it, like, all of them are great. Every single one of them. I think they went for an also I think with the second opening and ending, they went for a more artistic approach, especially in the ED.
Yeah.
That one.
Very true.
That one I noticed.
Because, like, the opening also did it, like, where it starts out kind of happy, and everybody's walking around with their popsicles, and then suddenly painting, and I'm like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, and it's, like, really rough, like, just sketchy looking design. Yeah.
Jagged lines.
And that's where it stops being bubblegum pop for me. Just starts that way, and then it goes right back into what I liked about the first one.
I could go for a popsicle.
It's just like the first 5 seconds of the second OP, I was just like, oh, why?
No, that makes sense to me. I'm sorry. I thought you meant like the genre of the music, and I was like,
no,
not
it's
the
like
K-pop. But...
No. No, the song was fine. It was the like actual visuals and what was being told to me. But anyway, we've been going on about this for a while. We'll talk about it off pod. But the point is, regardless of what we think, the music in this show and the visuals in the show are great, and the openings, the endings, and through the whole entire piece. So, man, there you go.
There was no back on. I am not pleased. There was no back on in any of this.
Craig hates everything about this show. Okay, moving on.
Yep.
Nice.
Did we cover all our bases?
Yeah, actually, unless Cami, I know I talked over you for like 5 minutes there.
No. We were good. We were good. I think the one thing that I could say as far as story goes and what people have to keep in mind is that this really is a glimpse into somebody's life. And so you reach it at a point and it's not going to give you an arc. Like, you're not going to get your climax and your ending conclusion. It's just you're in a glimpse of somebody's life. And so for some people, if that's not your jam, you know, just know that that's not what you're going to get out of it. I don't think that the show ended bad at all, especially considering a second season is greenlit. But if people really want, like, a conclusive ending, you're not going to get it from season 1. So,
nope.
Yeah. But good story. Great storytelling, and everything
things are looking
that
up
was
for
brought
him.
up was really, really significant. So, yeah.
At its core, this is a slice of life show. And it's not a slice of life as in you went on Annie Chart and it said slice of life and you watched it and you're like, nobody's life is like this.
Yeah.
It's a slice of life that's actually a slice of life, which is so good.
Exactly.
What does it actually categorize as? Could you call it a drama?
You could call it a drama, I guess. I know it's categorized as a slice of life.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you really wanted to be weird, you could classify it as a sports anime, because technically he plays Shogi, but that's kind of weird.
It gets technical, man. That's also another thing that kind of, like, for me as a whole, I don't know anything about Shogi, and a lot of it kind of glossed over my head, but then again, a lot of sports kind of gloss over my head. I guess for me, when I shut my brain off is when the superpowered, like, a basketball flies in the air with, like, the zone. Hey, Kirk on a basketball, what's up? That's all I got.
But that's the difference between that and this, because there wasn't any super-powered Shogi pieces or anything like that.
No, there wasn't.
Just to make that... But, they tried to make it as interesting as possible. I'll give them that.
They used cats to represent a tutorial.
Yes, they did. I agree, though, absolutely with you, Cassie. I think what made the Shogi tolerable, even when it went over your head, is that it's just so artistically presented. Again, as the rest of the show is. So it can still be enjoyable. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially because you get into these people's heads most of the time, too. Especially Ray. When he's going to lay a piece down, it's not literally you're just watching two anime characters put pieces down for the next 15 minutes. It's Ray thinking, oh god, did I mess this up? And then again, there's that water motif. In some situations, there's smoke involved. In some situations, they purposely make it more engaging. And even when they are just putting down pieces, the way they animate the fingers and the actual shogi pieces hitting the board sometimes even is very extravagant yet subtle. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Clack.
Yeah.
Clack. Clack.
Or they just go into very pretty imagery. Like, a lot of what, again, even though I think that the second half slowed down a lot more than the first half, I was still able to tolerate it just because, like, there was so much pretty artistic imagery, like, throughout a lot of Shimada's narrations and stuff. Like, it was still like, ooh, look at the pretty snow, and, like, ooh, look at the backdrop of where he grew up, etc., etc. So, yeah, the show makes it as enjoyable as they can, which is good. I appreciate that effort.
You know what this sounds like? It's almost like we're rating it. You know, maybe we should do.
What?
Nice.
I'm gonna go first. I got this. I'm gonna lead. I like it.
Okay, you like it?
I like it.
Give it a like. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cami, go next.
I mean, I have to like it. I binged it within 2 days. Does that say
doesn't mean
something?
anything. I have binged terrible things in a couple of days.
Sometimes I question your motivations.
I definitely give it a love. I just have to kind of figure out why beyond my own personal biases. But I do think that, like, even though I personally could relate to this show, I know from a lot of people, like watching it with Cassie, watching it like on occasion with my other best friend, and then Jonathan watching it a couple times, is people can relate to bits and pieces of this show. I think everybody can find a piece of this show that really resonates with them. And it also, to me, and again, as Cassie exemplified many times, it's not your typical anime. It's really not. It goes lengths to be unique and special, and I think that it is. So I definitely love it. I think it's one of the best things that I've seen in a long time.
Definitely. And I'm right there with you. Like, I struggle between a like it and a love it, but if I were to tell you after I started watching this show back in, I think it was like October or November of last year, like, this was the show I was psyched to watch.
Yes.
And it did for me in the second half start to slow down a little bit, but it was for a reason.
Yeah.
And I feel like we'll probably get into that into the spoiler section. But everything that was done in this show, even the parts that annoyed me, were done with purpose.
Well said.
And even though there were moments that went over my head, I went into this anime knowing it was about Shogi, and Shogi was a part of it. And for me to take off points for that, it's just being ignorant, kind of, because it's just like, that'd be like going to a baseball game and then getting like, I don't understand baseball, so I'm not enjoying myself.
It's a character study.
Yeah, it's like you knew what you were getting into, and it wasn't the most important thing. So I'll probably give it a love it as well. Now, I would agree.
How does this rating system work?
The rating system, basically every single person has their own personal rating now. Is how I wanted to make it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's not like it averages out or anything. So it doesn't matter.
Good.
I mean, you could have given it a burn it for all it matters. But this makes it more of an opinionated thing where, you know, people who listen will be like, well, you know, this is how one person felt about it, instead of just giving it a cold, hard numerical
number.
score.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, if you really want to think about it, we did do 5 different ratings, so I guess yours would be a 4 out of 5 technically.
Yep.
For like it, and ours would be closer to a 5 or a 4.5 to a 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
But we're not going to do that anymore. Screw numbers. I hate math. But anyway, so we got 2 love it's and a like it. It's not bad. It's a good show.
Not at all. Very good show, I think, across the board for all of us.
Yeah.
So go check it out on Crunchyroll.
Yep. And I think from now on we'll just kind of spare you guys the social links. You heard them at the beginning. If you need them, you can reference the description. But for now, get out if you don't want to be spoiled. Sleeve.
Shoo, children. Run away.
Go listen to the openings and the endings of this show instead of listening to us talk.
Yes.
Because music and beautiful openings.
Nice tie in there. Very nice. All right. Let's dive into spoilers, people. Okay.
Is there much to spoil?
There is.
Yeah, I think so.
There's plenty to spoil. For example, like you said, you weren't very fond of the sister.
Nope, don't care for her. She's a bitch. Why is she there? And she's
why
just
is she
thinking
there?
after...
Okay, that's where I'm gonna pull a cord, Craig. Why is she there to cause conflict?
Yeah, I guess she's there to essentially make Kiriyama's life hell.
Well, it's not even just that. She's there to progress his character. It's not like she was a pointless character. What do you mean? Why was she there?
I don't know. I just, like, every time she was there, everyone around her, even Kiriyama, was just like, you're causing everyone... You're essentially causing conflict. Why don't you just... And I know you have problems, but you're just like... You're pissing off your father, making him worried. you're messing with your brother. The Kawamoto sisters are just like, well, she's a witch. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like, every time I saw her, I was just like, I don't care why you're there.
I mean, I get it, and I get it in the way that it's like she's not necessarily, maybe in your case, enjoyable to watch, but it absolutely was just like Cassie said. She's there to progress Rei's character. She's there so we can like see more of why he is the way he is, because he could have just said, strife. You know, I'm Rei Kiriyama and I have a lot of depression and some like post-traumatic stuff, but without seeing it, you know, there's that weight that is provided by seeing how awful she treats him and like why she does. Shows you more complexity to the family as well, because I mean, she's only a product of the house she grew up in.
Exactly. So. Like, maybe she wouldn't have been as much of a bitch to him for succeeding at something that she didn't if her father didn't make her feel like a failure.
And that's another thing, too. She also gives a lot of depth and perspective into the father, because honestly, we don't see him that much. Like,
not really.
We see him be cold, but you can see the way that he impacts people through both Rei and through Kyoko.
Yeah, and I mean, like even when he gave Kiriyama that board for Christmas or something, and, like, everybody in the room froze.
Yeah.
Because of how important that was.
I think Kyoko's a very good, just, like, physical example of Rei's guilt, because he has a lot of guilt, just for how his life turned out. That, I mean, he... You know, it's like, poor kid, you were shoved into this as well, but again, it's more depth into why he feels the way he does.
Yeah. And they give depth to her character too. I believe I think Rei described her as like a broken glass or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And every time you try and fill it up, it's just never enough because she's cracked.
Yeah, she's also a slipping point for him. Like, that's the risk. It's like he could just, you know, go on this spiral of negativity and self-guilt, do things like, you know, throw a match because he feels guilty about something. She knows, like, the inner workings of his mind and how to put him on a bad track.
She makes him make decisions.
Yeah.
And while I understand that you didn't like her I didn't like her personally.
Yeah.
By the end of the show, I did find her to be a little bit more of a sympathetic character. Because we're seeing everything from Rei's point of view, but if you take a couple steps back and try and see things from her point of view for 5 seconds, like, and that's what the show tried to make you do, a couple of times. For example, I believe Cami mentioned off pod when the sisters saw her and was like, "Wow, you're such a witch," kind of deal, or the little girl thought she was a witch. She was hurt by that.
Yeah. She's also, honestly, a great parallel to the Kawamoto sisters as well.
Yeah. So I don't think it's a matter of why is she here. I don't think that's ever really called into question. She has a purpose.
But thank you for that question, because it really made me, like, actually spin and think about her validity in the show. So thank you for that. Getting the topic rolling here.
Yeah, definitely. And that's another thing. It's just, like, every character in this show, I feel, and that's one of the things that we, like, made it such a great show to me, is that everyone's important.
Yeah, and they shape Rei, like Nikaido, who I love. Oh, sweet boy.
Sweet boy.
But, you know, just his drive and the reason for his drive, like, given his illness and stuff. That also is something that kind of keeps Rei going.
Yeah.
Definitely. And later on, he gets to know Nikaido's brother, whose name I keep forgetting. Shimada. There we go. And
Shimada Kai.
And really, when things started to shift more towards him is when the show started to slow down.
I agree.
But at the same time, 'cause he joined his workshop. It was just like, I at first I was kind of annoyed by it, and I got behind a couple of episodes because of it, but as I got through it and got closer to the end, I understood what they were trying to do with it. And I was a little bit more forgiving, because it's just like, this is the life this guy leads. It is slow, and it's painful, and it's anxiety-inducing. It's literally killing his innards.
And you just know that Rei's relationship with him is basically going to also do a major shifting point in Rei as well. So it's a good way to kind of prime for the stuff that's going to happen in season 2, which, yeah, there's going to be more characters involved, and Rei just, getting involved in all that. No.
Hopefully Goto getting his face kicked in. I don't know if this happens, by the way.
Right?
I haven't gotten that far in the manga, but I want it to happen.
I would love that, personally.
And honestly, preferably, I don't want Rei to be the one to do it. I want his sister to do it.
That would be a huge turning point for her. But speculations aside, like you said, Shimada's presence has a purpose, and I think that, again, while it's kind of a weird way to go about it, it's, again, making a bigger shift in Rei, and hopefully we'll be able to reflect and see that in season 2.
Yeah, definitely.
Because he's like the mentor character. Probably not on purpose.
Yeah.
I don't think he meant to be, but that's kind of what he became.
I think there was a... Go on.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, I believe, like, I think there's a part of him that didn't know he was going to become a mentor, but then there was a part of him that did, just because he did that whole, I'll wait for him to come to me thing.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, but then they both have that moment where he asks him to join his workshop, but at the same time, Rei's just like, I want to. But, like, that's another life lesson he learns. Like, you have to ask for help sometimes. It's not all about you, buddy.
Yep,
And
exactly.
he realizes how selfish he's being by not wanting to rely on other people, which is a very weird concept.
No, it's so real, though. I agree with you. That's a very human trait. Pride is another human trait that is not always addressed. And they did it very, very well.
I believe there's a poignant scene where he goes up and he's playing him at his house and he says something along the lines of, what do you get out of this? I'm learning so much from you, an A-rank player, when I'm a C-rank player. And he's just... I don't remember what he said, but I was just like, yeah, what does Shimada actually get out of this? I guess to impart knowledge upon him, but...
And Shimada said that it's because Rei reminds him of Soya in a certain way.
That was it. They have certain mannerisms.
Which could be foreshadowing.
Exactly, yeah. That's very much... Because, I mean, they're priming Soya. At least the way it looks to me, they're priming him as, like, the final Shogi boss.
The final boss.
We'll see. Yep.
Final boss of the dungeon.
But that's the other thing that I really liked. Like, Soya, I expected him to be so intimidating, and for all the very few scenes we got from him, I kind of like him.
Mm-hmm. I want to see more of him. They left me
too.
Curious.
Yeah, because there was, like he noticed that Shimada wasn't feeling well. So he was like, I'll take care of the media so you can go and rest.
Oh, yeah,
And then when, there's the other spoiler, when Shimada, like, technically throws his match or doesn't realize he made, like, a really dumb mistake, Shoya was just like, you have too much faith in me, and it's so beautiful, or whatever.
Nice.
So it's just like, I don't know, from the few scenes we saw of him before then, he just seemed like a fucking ice queen or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe he just didn't care about other people. Maybe all he cared about was Shogi. That's what I was prepared for. And then I don't think that's the case.
No.
I loved the parallel to, again, weather symbolism and stuff, but I like how everyone who faces against Soya, like, sees him around snow, but then when Rei just sees him for, like, as a person, suddenly he's in a sunny rain shower. Like, that's just so cool. Okay, yeah.
They have a lot of fun playing with symbolism, and I feel like we could take an actual college class on just this anime and all of the different, like,
symbolism.
Like, just literally, like, even with the anime, or not anime, with the manga, the literature devices that they use, to foreshadow or to relay an emotion that can't just be spoken. It's so good.
As I'm saying, that's why I bow down to my idol human being, Chika Umino, because she just has a knack for storytelling and poignancy, I think. Just everything's very poignant in her work.
But I will agree with you that I don't feel like at the end of this show we feel like Rei that has really gotten a hold of himself yet, but I feel like he wants to, and that's so cool.
Yes.
He's on the right track. You can definitely tell by episode like 16, 17. He's like, okay, I'm going to join the workshop. And then his high school teacher at the end of episode 22 is like, we're going to make a club.
I love his high school teacher. Can I just, oh my God. I can't remember when it was. I think it was around when he graduated, but Rei is just like, I didn't do anything. Why do you care about me? And his teacher's like, you tried. Don't tell yourself you didn't. You did your best. And then Rei started crying, and I was like, oh my God.
I can't. I just love that he's like more than just that supportive character. He's also kind of like a smart ass too. Like,
yeah.
Can we talk about the Burners Club for a second?
Yes, please.
Like when he hooks him up with the Burners Club and he's like, let's join these two clubs together because I love both of you guys. And then Kiriyama's just like, I'm so motivated. And he's like, yes, free shogi lessons from Ray.
Exactly.
Yeah, essentially.
And I like
he's gonna
how
make it big.
He himself also is like ostracized half the time. I mean, at the beginning of the show, he's like, God, why am I sitting up here on the roof having lunch with a brat like you and stuff? But that's again just kind of more of how they're kindred spirits. And I honestly like how Ray himself attracts a lot of just like sassy people like that. Like Nikaido's another example. And Ray's just like, I'm just here, but they all flock to him.
Yeah, sassy people love that ass. What were you saying, Craig? I think you were piping up back there.
No, I was just saying, oh my, I mean, it's basically what Cami said. I like the fact that they made a club, and I forgot his teacher's name off the top of my head, but he's he's a very supportive character. Everyone essentially pushes Ray forward in some degree or another. What you alluded to earlier, Cass, that shitty shogi player, not Goto, the drunkard who gambles when he loses, when Ray actually has his emotional release. Everything,
dude, I love that.
Whether or not he chooses to go forward or not, it was a good stepping point. Because at one point, I think you told me yesterday that he tries to maintain his C rank status, because if he goes any higher, then he'll end up like Shimada, and the fact that he'll have more anxiety to fucking deal with more than he already has.
Well, that's the whole point, really, is that he's just using shogi as a way to get by.
Yep.
I think it even implies that until he's actually brought into that family, he doesn't even really care about shogi after his real father passes.
I think he liked it on a surface level because he'd play it with his real father, but yeah, it was never something that he was serious about until he had to make that lie.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing he likes. He asked him, do you like this game? Do you like shogi? And he's like, I lied. And I was just like, okay, all right, your lie in April episode 2, or part 2. But no, it's just, it's very interesting how his feelings about shogi have changed throughout the show as well.
And
very
again,
true.
that's shaped by people that he knows. One other scene I just wanted to touch
Found
on
it!
Because it's... Huh?
Sorry, Takashi Hayashida.
Who was Misaki in Junjo Romantica.
Okay, Hayashida.
He's the teacher of the high school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. What was it? Yeah, I loved him. I love the three sisters. I love how different the three sisters are as well. They all, and you get to know them all very well. And I'm excited for more manga stuff because, yeah, you know, they're still there. They're still a staple part of the story.
Absolutely.
Good.
But yeah, there's so much, and I'm so excited for season 2, and I know that's going to be towards the top of a lot of our lists, or at least me and Cami's. I think I might just forfeit it. Just watch it anyway.
I mean, yeah,
But
we could both just put that on our list because it's a sequel. I mean, to be honest.
That's true.
So, because I
But
mean,
we're both going to watch it anyway.
Well, yeah, there's no need to do an impression on it because we know we'll be watching it. Like,
well, too bad. It's part of the formula, lady. Gotta do it anyway.
If that's what you want, that's what we'll do.
I mean, who knows? Maybe we're just like, yeah, season 2 of March comes in like a lion, and episode 1 is just the dancing cats for 30 minutes. And
you know, wouldn't surprise me too much, but because I know what's coming in the mangas.
I don't
know.
I need to get back to the manga.
You'll be on track by the time season 2 comes out, I'm sure.
This is true. But that being said, I don't know if there's much more in spoilers that I really feel I need to dive into.
Nope.
Yeah,
Cami?
just discovering everything about his family, the fact that his actual family died and that he is in an adoptive family is a pretty huge spoiler. But again,
Yes.
it's significant because it just brings depth to his character and the journey he goes on. So,
Yeah. To be perfectly honest, that's another episode that fucked me up when, like, Momo fell down. and Ray was helping her up, helping clean up her scratches or whatever, and then he just flashes back to his dead sister's hand covered in scratches.
Yep. And then starts crying, and she's just like, Ray-chan was crying. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, that messed me up.
No.
Mm-hmm.
That messed me up pretty hard.
Yeah. And then the scene we all love in episode 4, where Hina is crying at the water, which was also one of my favorite moments from the manga, and seeing it animated, they adapted it perfectly. Like, it was just everything
I would imagine.
it could have been. Yeah.
It was animated well. That was also the scene that I talked about earlier when I was trying to be vague with the sound, where they cut to silence. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right though. That struck, because then, especially because she was just voice acting so strongly, and the next thing she said, that cut of silence just made it piercing. Oh man.
And I also just love how those two characters specifically are grieving over very similar things, but they're reacting to it in a completely different way, and Ray points that out. Mm-hmm. Where it's just both of us lost our mothers, and she's crying and I'm not. Mm-hmm. But then that just shows how they dealt with that grief differently, and I think that throughout the show he's starting to learn to deal with his depression and his grief differently. And then there are moments where he talks about his depression, and I was like, #same, when he goes to buy food at the store and he's like, I don't even know how to be depressed properly.
Oh, right, where he's dehydrated and all that shit. I'm like, man.
I just love how snippy and sassy the sisters could be too. When they saw him at the store, and they were just like, "Oh, you don't want to come to our house and eat? You just want to eat junk food? Do you not like us anymore? Is my food bad? What's the problem, Ray-chan?"
Yeah. Oh man. Or I loved how I loved how Hina didn't understand why, but she was mad when she passed Ray and Kyoko, and then she's like, he didn't even look at us, so she went and ran and shoved the whatever food it was to him, and was
the bento boxes.
Mad. I was just like, oh, I love Hina. She's my favorite character, but yes,
I love Hina as well. Another scene that actually made me tear up really hard, it wasn't even sad, was when she makes the new little snowman mochi candies or whatever, God. And she's talking to her grandpa about her mom, and how her mom loved sweets, and how she wants to actually become a Japanese sweets maker herself, but it's a secret.
Oh, yeah.
I cried. I was literally sitting there with tears streaming down my face, because I was like, this baby girl, she loves her mommy so much.
Jeez.
Yeah, this show, I mean, I will cut it short, but there's just so many different scenes that resonate with so many different people, and again, to me, that's why this show is so valuable.
Yep. It's true. I can't think of anything else to say.
All right, Craig, play us off.
I hope you all had a great day. I'm not going to go and sprout out the links because they're at the beginning of the show. So you all have a wonderful day, and you all stay classy, San Diego.
We're in Portland, though.
Listen.
Have a good night. Oh, yeah,
good night.
I don't. Why am I here again?